Definitely will talk about them today as well.
Yeah.
All right. We are live. Welcome back to Boss Uncaged podcast. So today we have Justin, and I'm going to deem him the epic boss for multiple different reasons. It's kind of crazy. I mean, this is the first time we're meeting online, but we literally just met like roughly 40 hours ago, not even a full 2 days ago, and we just have so many different like connections and overlapping. I looked at some of our connections, and it's kind of like out of my 8 random different circles, like we have like 8 common denominators between multiple different circles. So him being an epic individual goes without saying. The floor is yours. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about you and what we're going to be talking about today?
Well, one, it's great to be here. I have found that having the right mindset attracts the right network and creates the right opportunities. And I don't believe in randomness. Things are just meant to be. So it'll be very interesting, this conversation. And then I never come prepared for any meeting. I just like to see what happens.
Sounds like a win-win. So, like, let's just start off right off the bat because I'm a branding guy, and obviously, I like the brand of Epic. So, I want you to kind of talk about like the hybrid of the word Epic and part of your last name. Like, how did you come up with that, and what does that really symbolize for you and your clientele?
Yeah, um, you're a deep thinker. I can hear it. Um, you can draw things and use your hands. Uh, I can barely hold a pencil right. Like it's very hard for me, but I can hear things and then make connections based on that. So I appreciate I appreciate that question, but I was a journalist for 20 years, and created entire first company based on how PR firms annoyed me for 20 years. So I actually have no idea what PR firms do. I'm guessing you don't understand what a lot of branding firms do, so you came up with your own solution to that, which makes sense. But when I was a journalist, I'd like to use the word epic because I thought it was I mean, it is a great word. It's an amazing word,
Yes.
and so we try to get it in a headline or the story text or a photo cut line, anything I could get it into. And On the way up to Wisconsin, we live in Chicago. My wife surprised me for my 40th birthday, which was 6 years ago, um, almost 6 years ago to the day, actually. And She surprised me with a trip to a nice resort. And on the way up, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to start a company and call it BrEpic. So BR, first 2 letters, the last name, and then Epic. So now there's multiple Epic books, there's multiple BrEpic companies, there's a multiple BrEpic baseball teams. Just started a BrEpic scholarship to raise awareness for teen suicide prevention and mental health. So it's like it's really interesting. And then when people say the word epic or hear the word epic now, they're like, "Oh, I thought of you today because I heard the word epic," which I think is funny. I just like saying the word.
Yeah, but I think you did a good job of brand association and picking something that's so short, so precise, and so dynamic with those 4 letters. I mean, it just makes sense. So that kind of like leads me into like your core value, right? Because I mean, obviously, being an epic individual, I want to talk about your core value. And on your website, you say that it's like you're synergizing, you're energizing, and you're partnering. So I want you to kind of break down like these three. I mean, you could have been anything, right? I mean, being that you're epic, it could have been any 3 words. Why did you pick those 3 words?
So that's a great question. It's interesting how your brain thinks and where it goes to. My brain does not go to that, but in Strength Finders, I'm a relator, high in relation. So I'm going to relate to your brain right now and ask and answer that question.
Mhm.
So I spent 2 full days working with. His name's Dan Zawacki, and he owned a company called Lobstergram, and then sold it. And then now he does EOS, and then he just likes to help simplify things for people. So we spent 2 full days. It wasn't even. It's interesting that you are in branding world. I didn't consider it branding at all when we did that. I considered it more of like simplification of my brain. That's the way I looked at it. And that was done right at the start of COVID. And it's been interesting to see that taking place in real time, just like synergizing visionaries, energizing people like us. Like people like us really like me, and then like employees or folks not changing the world, they don't understand. But here we are, we're meeting a couple days after we first talked, but that's what I mean. It synergizes the right mindsets.
I think you definitely hit on something because I mean when we first met, like literally it was like Sunday evening.
Hmm.
You reached out to me on Facebook. We went back and forth, and then you kind of introduced me into the Kobe score. And right away, like you defined what the Kobe was. You talked about the particular thing. So I want to dive into that, and I want to start off with on one of your pages. You had like a video review. I think it was of your book on probably on Amazon, and it was from Mike. And Mike was saying like on page 19 of your particular book like the scores that you're usually looking for someone is a quick action taker needs to be
Yes.
8, 9, and 10. So I
Yes.
want you to kind of break down the Kobe score. And let's talk about this for a minute. I want to talk about the scores, your score, my score, and kind of get the audience to understand what the premise is of this particular system.
Yeah. So, you know, you were a single dad and now, a teenager now, no excuses, and then had a stroke 2018, no excuses, figure it out. So um, a true visionary, and I don't really talk to business owners or humans. I just spend most of my day talking to people like us, and then
Mhm.
connecting people like us to people like us. I don't really understand business owner stuff. That's not why you go into journalism. And the easiest simplification, the easiest way for me to identify who's an actual visionary, for the most part, is their Colby score, Kolbe. I don't care at all what someone's personality is. It's totally meaningless to me. I want to know if they're actually going to do something. Um, Unless someone is interviewing me in a format like this, I rarely say anything. I'd rather just action, 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 action. And the overwhelming majority of visionaries, and I'm an exception to this, but the overwhelming majority of visionaries are 8, 9, or 10 quick start. So they're idea, 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 shiny object, shiny object, shiny object, shiny object, shiny object. So think ADHD, diagnosed or undiagnosed. It's not a disorder. It's not a disorder. Sign of genius mislabeled by humans because humans don't understand visionaries. It's a different world. And you are the exception to this, but most visionaries, certainly not all, because you're an exception, and so am I, but most visionaries have little to no follow through. So 1, 2, 3, maybe a 4 follow through. So again, that's ADHD diagnosed or undiagnosed. And if they don't hire a million people, nothing will get done. So you and I are the very, 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 very rare. You're even rarer than me, that have high quick start and high follow through. So I could hear you and see you doing that when we were talking, like, because you just said it, did it, said it, did it, said it, did it. It didn't get handed off to 300 people. At least I don't think it did. And then you just executed. I have found the folks that are high quick start, high follow through. Again, certainly not always, but usually they're in the marketing world, whatever this world is. Because like if you don't hit a deadline in this world, if you don't have follow through, that's a problem. So, but a true visionary is almost always an 8, 9, or 10 quick start. I'm an exception. I'm a 7. You can be 7 under visionary, but you have to have extraordinarily high IQ and or EQ, and you can game the system. So I've been able to game the system, but you with your score are a true visionary.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. And I definitely appreciate you bringing it to my attention. And for the
Yeah.
listeners, I want to kind of break down like you're talking about these 4 scores. So, like his number is 8671, mine is a 2683. But I
Yeah.
want you to understand like the first number is fact finding, right? The second number is follow through. The third number is action taker. And then the last number is implementation. So, if you have not taken this, I would definitely recommend taking this to kind of see
Absolutely.
you are on the spectrum to kind of know what you're
Literally,
looking
you're
for.
probably on the spectrum. So there are 4 types of that's interesting that you said that word. I don't think you meant it the way I'm thinking it, but so that my brain turns everything into patterns, everything.
Mhm.
So most of my days talking to the world's top visionaries, and I hear blah 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 blah, and then answer pattern, answer pattern, answer pattern. So there are four types of entrepreneurs, not business owners, not consultants, not humans, entrepreneur, visionary, four types. One is ADHD, diagnosed or undiagnosed. Two, minor Asperger's, so ultra focused, low on empathy. Most people I talk to are ADHD, diagnosed or undiagnosed. My wife, who is a doctor, has unofficially diagnosed me with minor Asperger's. So that's the first two. The third is dyslexia. So you can't learn to read one way or learn one way, so you learn another. So that's 30% of high performing entrepreneurs. And then the fourth is extraordinarily high IQ or EQ. So not entrepreneurs aren't really human, because humans don't understand. Humans are not ADHD. They're not, Asperger's. They're not many are not dyslexic, and then they don't have extraordinarily high IQ or EQ. So it's just a different world.
Hmm. Yeah, I think to your point, I mean, it's always one of these random questions that I ask about, being a superhero, and and I think you kind of are answering that question without me asking it. And I've always wanted to hear someone say that I am that superhero because I am an entrepreneur, and that's what you're saying indirectly. So I definitely commit.
100%. Well, the purpose of my life is to be a connecting superhero for every visionary, not human, not business owner, not consultant, visionary, who shares their stories with the world, not their world. People, I don't understand. It's confusing to me. When I was a journalist or entrepreneur who happened to be a journalist, I was just writing about and connecting cool people, changing the world. So now writing about connecting cool people, changing the world, nothing's changed in that.
Yeah.
In that way. But I will say that for most of my life, I was talking to people who had no idea what I was talking about, and I had no idea what they were complaining about. So I don't understand why you wouldn't think globally, why you wouldn't think fully abundant, or why you wouldn't just invest in things. Like, it's very confusing to me. But most people are afraid to do stuff, or they look at things as costs. And again, with Colby, high quick start usually means you're not afraid of risk. So you're a high quick start. You're not afraid of risk, or certainly not as afraid as a human would be.
So let's put a spin on that, right? And like you said, your wife, you were talking about Sarah, and she finds you to have this particular disorder, a quick starter.
Not a disorder. It's not a disorder. It's mislabeled by humans as a disorder. It's
Yeah,
not a superpower.
Okay, so let me rephrase that. She labels you with the superpower. So I want you to define yourself. If you could define yourself in 3 to 5 words, what would those 3 to 5 words be?
Epic. Yeah, that'd be it. So I'm a simplifier. Less is more to me. So I like to take 3 to 5 words and turn it to one. And so less is, I always like to do the least amount as possible to get the highest maximum result. And that's how visionaries are. They're all, not all, but many are just simplifiers. They just want the easiest shortcut to the answer. What I also will say is I'm a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur and would never let entrepreneur life destroy my family life. I talk to 1 to 2 people like us every single week that have let entrepreneur life destroy their family life or prevented them from anything meaningful. And I am definitely not that person. Definitely.
I think that's a solid segue, because I mean, on one of your Instagram videos, I think the title of it was "Put Family First and Still Crush It." So,
right. Why wouldn't you do that?
well, you got to think about that, right? I think some people, like, they're trying to find a balance becomes a kind of a bit of a hurdle, right? So I want you to kind of talk about, like, how have you found like that balance, considering that you're a high risk taker, right? So
okay, so that's an excellent question. And we can just pretend we're talking to, like, it's like we're looking in the mirror right now, because we're very similar in the middle too. Colby scores, and you're also a risk taker. So maybe this will sound very familiar, at least some of it, I think. So, one, I married a stabilizing human. Usually, people like us, not always, usually people like us marry stabilizing humans. So, like a teacher, social worker, my wife's a pediatrician, a nurse, a lawyer. That is what I've seen. So, like, think of in Colby world, an 8, 9, or 10 quick start married to a 1, 2, 3, or 4. My wife is a 4 quick start. So that's most important by far. If I had not married my wife, it would not have been a good situation. And that's why the first thing I do every day is a grateful journal to her, what I'm grateful for. for her the previous 24 hours. And then because I have high follow through, I don't forget about it, or it doesn't get lost in absentia. It just gets executed, which I know you can relate to. So my brain, again, talking to the world's top visionaries, and then I see the patterns. So if I had talked to one visionary, just one, who said they destroyed their family life for entrepreneur life, I would have been like, that's a terrible idea. I'm never going to do that. So if I heard that one time, that would be enough for me to hear that.
Mm.
I hear it 1 to 2 times a week. So when you hear the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over, it's not that it gets reinforced. It's just like, here's what entrepreneur life actually is. And frankly, that's why I wrote the Epic Life book of how to build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first. I know that's what people like us want. They just don't know how to do it many times. So that's why I wrote it.
I think it's definitely interesting. I mean, just having this is the first time we're having like an actual physical conversation, and then kind of hearing the way your brain processes things. This next question is going to be like interesting because I think for you, either you're going to just completely cut that individual off once you figure out that's who the individual is, and then you move on.
For the answers to the first, yeah. What, you don't even have to say the second part. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. If you want to know my litmus test?
Yeah, spit it out.
I appreciate that. That was a great. I don't even know what the question was, but I could hear it. And then my top 3 strength finders are activate, maximize, achieve. So there's no overthinking. There's no overfeeling. There's go, keep going, keep going, keep going, never stop. Okay, so this is my litmus test. If I talk to someone like us, and I know I can provide endless value to them, they can provide endless value to me, I will talk to them forever, forever. If I talk to someone who's not like us, and I cannot add value to them because they don't understand what I'm talking about, and they can't add value to me because they don't know why I'm thinking like this, then I'll never talk to that person again, because they're taking time away from me and my family. Why would you talk to someone who takes time away from you and your family? That's illogical to me. So people like us allow me to spend as much time with my family as I want to, which is what's most important. So I'll talk to people like us forever. And then people that don't, I just don't talk to them.
So let's flip that coin, right? And I want you to talk about a situation that has happened with a particular client. And I already know you probably fired this client, but a client that did not come into your atmosphere and kind of comprehend. Maybe they tried to, but it never really worked out. How did you deal with that situation?
I mean, so that's a fair question. That hasn't happened in a long time. Here's why that's a good question, and maybe this response will be helpful. I hope it is. It wouldn't get to the point where anyone actually ever even signed anymore because I'm so direct. People like us really like me. People like that are not like us don't understand me, and they would never sign with my firm. They would never invest. They would never invest that amount of money. And I've also found that continuing to raise rates exponentially eliminates people that wouldn't do it. And again, simplify into patterns. So I keep writing bigger checks to be in smaller rooms, but the people in those rooms are making bigger impact. That allows me to spend biggest check in smallest room, which is my family, where I can make the most impact. And then I've asked for those who want to invest in PR firm, I guess that's what BrEpic is, to write bigger checks to be in the smaller room, but the people in those rooms are making bigger impacts. So people that are in the room that I created, whatever this room is, they're writing bigger checks. So people writing bigger checks are not quibbling about business owner stuff. They're just not. They want to change the world, and they're very grateful for all these intros to others that want to help them change the world. They're pre-fired. Does that answer your question? There would never be an engagement. They're just pre-fired, but they're disqualified by their own mindsets.
Well, I mean, I think to get to where you are, let's say we have a listener that's more of green coming into this space, right? I want you to talk about like your journey. How long did it take you to get as distinct and as detailed as you are currently right now? Is it a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year? How long did it take you to get where you are?
Yeah, so talk is meaningless. It's meaningless to me. Only action. So without an answer, it's pointless. So first book, Epic Business, one of the chapters is when you start a business, it takes 2 full years to really figure it out. So not 2 months, not a year, not 18 months, 2 full years, 2 full years. So the first company has always been very profitable. I'm very thankful for that, really since day one. Um, it really started to take off when started to raise rates astronomically, because what happened is it was less partners at first, but then it eliminated people that asked, what do you cost or charge? And it attracted people that said, what does an investment with you look like? And then those people introduced me to more people like that. And then I just kept raising rates. And then that it eliminates the wrong fits and attracts right fits. So I haven't done anything outbound in years.
Mm.
I just provide right value to right types of people, and they provide right value to me. I mean, there's no selling. And I haven't done any selling of anything in a long time. I'm just the buyer of the people I want to hang out with. But here's the dovetail to that. Here's the dovetail. You're either born top visionary entrepreneur on planet or not. Most people I think would choose to be like this, but they're not. I mean, that's why they are employees or small business owners or consultants. They're not meant to be top entrepreneur on planet, and that's fine. If everyone was like this, it'd be anarchy and chaos. But if you are born like this, which is rare, I'd say our firms maybe partner with 1 out of 1,000 humans. It's probably less than that, but 1 out of 1,000 is easier to say. So if there's 8 billion people, there's 8 million visionaries. That's a lot. But if you are one of those 8 million, then you can just work on your mindset every day, just building a stronger mindset, because that attracts the right network, which creates the right opportunities. And those that have the wrong mindset repel the right network and create no opportunities. So I just work on my mindset every day.
I think the key thing that you said in that, I mean, obviously mindset is a reoccurring keyword, but I think more so importantly for the listener, I want you to listen to these two separate words, right? One that he said is like, how much does it cost? And the other one is, what's the investment, right? Those two things right there by itself is an identifying factor, right? By default, if you're having a conversation with someone and you're trying to close a deal and I ask you how much it costs versus how much is the investment.
No. If anyone asks me what do you cost or charge, I'll never talk to that person again. And there's 2 reasons why. One, they have the wrong mindset. 2, what do you cost or charge people? Hang out with what do you cost or charge people. I don't I don't deal with no. Because again, wrong mindset attracts wrong network, creates no opportunity. So I ignore that world completely. The interesting part is I was always like this, but rates weren't high enough, and then I wasn't along 2 years into the journey to even understand that I was even this person. But I just kept talking like this, and then you just find the people that understand what you're talking about are top entrepreneurs on planet. But the most popular chapter of the first book, again, Epic Business, is I'm paraphrasing this because it came out in 2020 and I don't remember the exact thing, but it was only partner with those that look at things as investments, not costs. So that was, from a reader perspective, that was the most popular chapter, because that's the defining thing, whether you're a visionary or not. I mean, a visionary would never ask, what do you cost? Ever. They just wouldn't. They would never do that.
So how does that translate? I mean, for the user that's listening right now, right? How does that translate from a book into like a marketing website? Because again, some people, they look at websites and it's book an appointment. Some people, it's like, here's your price. Your world, like, how do you translate that into a digital platform?
That is true. Man, I love it. I love how your brain works, because you're a galvanizer, discernment, and then you want to take the nuggets and like provide an actionable step. I appreciate that, and I'm very similar to that. So this is just me, okay? This is my opinion on the website is just a landing page. And I appreciate you looking into it and looking at the videos and all that stuff. For whatever it's worth, also, my firm's main website has the company's entire process on there. Like, it's literally, I don't know what PR firms do. I actually have no idea. I was just annoyed for 20 years. So I'm like, this is what my firm does. But really, I guess some folks look at my firm's website. I actually don't think they do. I don't really care. It's more of like, I get an intro from a genius entrepreneur running a 7 to 10 figure business, and they're just pure visionary, and they're like, oh, hey, this person helped me, meet this person. You should meet this person so he can help you meet them. So that's really what it is. And then what I will say about the book is, because I've done two and then have another one coming out where I didn't write any of it, but my name's on it. Again, that's a byproduct of having the right mindset, which attracts the right network, and right opportunities. But all a book is to me is a key that opens endless doors. That's all it is. It's not about sales, or, I mean, it could be, but for me, it's just a key that opens up endless doors. That's all it is. And then Epic Life specifically, how to build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first. I mean, that's the message. For me, that's the only message. I don't know why anyone would ever want a different message than that. That's illogical to me. So that I'll never stop believing in that and living that. And then if you're not a litmus test for the people you serve, you're a hypocrite. So purpose of my life is to be connecting superhero for every visionary who shares their stories with the world. So I'm a visionary sharing my story with the world. I mean,
Hmm,
so that's just a litmus test for the people you serve.
hmm, hmm. I think it's definitely an interesting philosophy. So our next question is leading into like your history of life, right? I mean, obviously you're a superhero, but I would think most superheroes are byproducts of other superheroes. So were any of
All of
your
them,
parents?
all of
So let's talk about your parents. Right? Were any of your parents like in the
them.
space and the spectrum that you're in right now? Like, are you feeding from what they taught you early on?
So that's interesting what so I'm going to answer that.
Yeah.
And then you'll understand, you'll understand why I'm like this in some capacity, but because that's the root of it. That's the root of it. But here, so I was a journalist for 20 years, and then all I do is talk to people like us all day. So I've only found two common, and so superheroes. Okay, so all I do is talk to superheroes, whether they're entrepreneur, top athlete, top actor, top musician, whatever. Those are all superheroes. So there's only two commonalities with them. One that I've seen anyway. One is they have the same mindset, no excuses. You have a stroke, single dad, what? Okay, whatever, fine. Okay, fuel. Okay. So that's one. And then two, I haven't met one of those people, not one that didn't have at least one person who genuinely believed in them.
Mm,
So, a superhero, if you want to call that a superhero that believed in a superhero, I haven't met one superhero that hasn't had one person, that hasn't had anyone care about them. That would be interesting. If you could find someone or know someone that has had, like us, that has had no one believe in them, I would like to meet them. I haven't yet. So like a parent, coach, mentor, teacher, I don't know, some a super okay. So I was very blessed by having two beyond extraordinary superheroes. One is still alive. I'll start with the one who isn't, which is my dad. He was 61 when I was born. He'd be 107 if he was alive now. He was born in 1916. And so he was a World War II hero, shot down multiple times in combat, many times without a parachute, got back in the plane. So that's my litmus test for you're either someone who can do that or you're not. So any visionary they'd get shot down and they just get back in the plane, even if they didn't have a parachute, they would. And then he became an attorney in Nuremberg trials, president of a company. He died when I was 13. After he died, I found a diary of that he wrote fighting in the Battle of the Hurtgen Forest, which was a very deadly battle towards the end of World War II. If you've read Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, that's the number one book. My dad's diary is a close second. What he overcame in that, and there's excerpts from that in the Epic Life book. I mean, the most horrific. It's just every day gets more and more horrific. So if ever an excuse pops in my head, I'll just go down and read that diary, be like, oh, bye bye excuse. See you later. Okay, so that's my dad.
mhm.
And then every day while he was alive that I can remember, he would say, the cream rises to the top, the cream rises to the top. So my firm's partner with the cream that rises to the top are those that'll do whatever it takes. And then that's the first chapter of Epic Life is the cream rises to the top. Okay, so that's him. And then when he was in his late 50s, a drunk driver hit him head on. Drunk driver was killed instantly. My dad broke every bone in his body but survived. And then my mom was his nurse. He woke up and saw my mom. He thought he was dead and thought she was an angel. But no, she was a human, kind of. And then she was 27 when I was born. She's still alive. Very grateful for that. And so most of my days talking to people like us, top entrepreneurs, endless hustle. I have not met anyone who has more hustle than my mom ever. So she's the ultimate survive and thrive. The ultimate no excuse. So I'm the combination of that.
So, like reading into that, I mean, I think there's just so much symbolism, right? And I think the fact that you said that your dad had jumped out of planes, and so those that have maybe looked at your LinkedIn profile, and there's a parachuting image of you versus, a headshot or a studio shot. So I want to,
Boo,
is there a
boring.
correlation between those two?
Boring. Yeah. It's fine. I mean, that's fine for those with headshots. That's fine. That's most of LinkedIn. I've always been a outlier, even among outliers. Uh, I like the a 5 year our 5 year vision board, and I'm not a futurist, but so having a vision board has helped me with that. But 5 year vision board is to within the next 5 years go swimming with great white sharks in a cage or whatever. So when that happens, then I'll update the photo. Me in a scuba thing with a great white shark. But that's where I'm going with that. But you know, again, this is very interesting. Everything that you're saying goes back to the first, well, almost everything you're saying goes back to the first book. So one of the chapters in the first book was being an entrepreneur is like jumping out of an airplane and you don't know if the parachute's going to open. And so that's what it felt like skydiving. It felt like starting a business. And it was a great rush. You're like, I don't know if it's going to work. And then, parachute opens and land on the ground. You're like, oh, that was pretty awesome. So that's what it feels like to be an entrepreneur. That's why most people won't jump out of an airplane. They won't do it. But most people also won't become entrepreneurs.
Very, very, very true. I mean, it just kind of goes back to your first core values of having like that synergy, right? And that energy collectively in one person, right? So like going back to like your family, and then you have two boys, right? And I remember seeing a video where I think one of the boys was jumping off a staircase through a paper ring, and you threw a football, and then your older son threw a football and hit him in his groin, and he was like, "Oh,
That was intentional.
well, yeah, older brothers, little brothers, right?"
I
So I
told
want
him. Yeah.
to talk about like that atmosphere, the fact that you're a dad right now, and that you're raising the next generation of superheroes. What are you instilling in them?
So both our sons are nine quick start, two follow through. So that's the ultimate ultimate visionary. And I know what it's like not to have a dad around. So I'm a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur. I'm never gonna let entrepreneur life destroy my family life. But my dad, even though he was older, he was like a child in a good way. Like he like was so grateful to be alive after everything that he'd overcome and then to have children. He was like a little kid. And that's how I am with our children. And then my wife, again, stabilizing human. Thank God for that. She's like, hey, don't forget to pick up your kids at school, and you know. And before parent teacher conferences, she says 3 words to me: "Don't say anything." So I just keep my keep my mouth shut at that. But no, we have a lot of fun, and it's really interesting because um, we play a lot after school, or anytime really. We play a lot of football or baseball, and you can see the kids. You can see because I play with other kids too because they're gravitated toward my kids being maniacs. And then you can see the kids that are potential future entrepreneurs because they're full maniacs. And then you can see the ones that'll, probably be a lawyer or a teacher because they're like afraid to, like, you know what I mean? They're just afraid for, like, not to get hurt, but to do anything daring or whatever. So it's like almost like this is not why I'm doing it, but it's almost like an entrepreneurial identification system to see how these kids act. Uh, I'm like, oh, you're just an entrepreneur, dude. And then I tell the parents all the parents are stabilizing humans. Like, oh, your kid's just an entrepreneur. And they look at me funny because they don't understand what I'm talking about. But, their kids bouncing off the walls or running around and not listening. I'm like, well, that kid's probably an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
He's not trying to be a problem. He's just wired differently than you are.
I think that brings up a very keen thing based upon what you're doing. Because I mean, you're saying that your PR but you're PR with a networking twist, right? So it's like take out the word PR and you're really a connector.
The human word. And I love that you said that, and you realize that right away, because there's a working genius assessment which you'd like. You're a galvanizer discernment, or your discernment galvanized. That's how I am. It's cool to most of the folks I talk to, they're full ideators all over the place, but I can see how you're a full simplifier. You're a full simplifier. But no, I mean, PR is the human term. It's up there because that's what that's what most people know it as. But I literally, people are like, "Oh, you're a PR expert." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I have no idea what PR firms do." And then I haven't watched the news in, I don't know. I haven't watched the news in years. I pretty much ignore mainstream media. Um, I I don't really understand it, like, because it's the opposite of visionary abundance investment mindset. So our partners are in those places, but shows like these are replacing mainstream media, for multiple reasons. But these shows like these are entrepreneurial platform or transformational platforms for entrepreneurs. That's what they really are. So no, I mean, it's like just connections to the right people. That's what it is, and then those people become investors or collaborators or business partners. I don't know what's going to happen. I just know it's people like us, and people like us want to change the world, and they want to create something, and then they'll actually do it. They'll actually make an investment to do it. So that's what's fun.
So this is a serious question. Like, I mean, all the questions have been serious, but obviously every business owner, entrepreneur, they're always looking for connections. They're always looking for networking, but they may be looking at the wrong network and the wrong connection.
100%.
So how important, and I know it's very important, but I want you to
Everything.
define it. Like, I want you to talk about that a minute. Like, how important is it for you to find the right connector to get to the next level?
I mean, I know you're asking that for your audience, and I appreciate that, but that's people that don't understand that, they're not really entrepreneurs. I mean, they're business owners, and that's fine. I just ignore that. Again, right mindset attracts right network, creates right opportunities. Wrong mindset creates wrong network and no opportunities.
Mm.
I mean, that's it. I don't, all this other stuff is very confusing to me. Employee count, revenue, office space, that stuff is, that's not why you become a journalist. I don't think it is anyway, but
So,
that's everything.
so let's dig into that a little bit deeper. Like, what is a telltale sign that an individual is in the wrong networking or the wrong connection space?
Okay. I'm going to simplify that as much as possible, although this is kind of an elaborate answer. I don't do anything anymore. This is me, and this is the graduating stage, but I don't do anything anymore unless it's at least 25K a year US. That was certainly not always that way. So let's because you use the word network, but let's talk about networking rooms. Again, I keep making bigger investments to be in smaller rooms. People in those rooms are making bigger impact. Okay. It just so happens that the level that I need to be at where people can understand me and then I can learn from them, it's a 25K a year US. That's what I found. And then easily would invest 50K a year, easily, because it's not a cost, it's an investment. And then there will be a 100K group or what. So the first group I was in, I think it was $250 a year. Then, and I'm still in that one because I'm loyal and there's nice people there. So it was 250, then it was 500, then it was 2,000, then it was 5,000, then it was 10,000, and now two or 25,000 each. At the 10,000 level, I would say 15% of the folks understood what I was talking about. Maybe less than that. I would say for most folks, most high level business owners, consultants, the 10,000 level is a good. I will say the PR firm started to take off when the rates were raised to 10,000 minimum. It's much more than that now. But I will say it disqualified at 10,000, it disqualified most people and then attracted high level. Now the rates are much more than that. and it attracts higher level. But that 10,000 mark, I think it's a good barometer to see if you're really serious or if you're not.
So we're talking about, like, if we're looking at this like stocks, right? I mean, obviously there's peaks and valleys, and there's a point to where a stock would cut off and then it would drop down. So where's the plateau for an individual in this style of business? I mean, you're talking about 2, 5, 10, 20, 100. Is there ever a plateau? I mean, could you go to 100 million and still have someone probably raise their hand?
I don't know. I mean, I don't care. I, um, I'd never thought about that. Um, my partner for second company, we created LinkedIn Without the BS, which invite only high price point connectivity platform. Most of his day is doing 8 and 9 figure deals.
Mhm.
It would be a better question for him. The book we have coming out, again, I had nothing to do with it other than my name's on it. And then it talks about the new company being the connectivity platform for people like that. But the book is about how to build a family office, multifamily office. To do that, you have to have minimum 8 figures. And then the other co-author, my partner's Mark Fujiwara. He's a great guy. 1596 Colby, which is full unicorn. And then the other co-author on the book is Russ Allen Prince, who in the family office space, multifamily office space, he's, basically #1 in world. He's the editor of Private Wealth magazine. They have 2,000 subscribers, average revenue per subscriber is 8 figures. So he keeps doing stories on me in the book. And then he does stories on PR partners. So that intro alone, that intro alone is well worth the investment in my PR firm, by the way. That's to work with Russ is way more than the investment in my PR firm. So that intro alone, but that's the people we're attracting. But like in the financials, that's my partner's. He's
Mhm.
in the financial world for his whole life. That's not my area of expertise.
Got it. So I listened to this entire conversation. I try to replay it in my head as you're saying it, and the keyword that keeps coming up over and over
Six
again.
follow through. Your sixth follow through wants to hear it again. I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah, definitely. So I keep hearing the word book and the terminology book, and obviously you have 2 books out. You're writing your 3rd book. What I want to talk about is the books that help you become who you are. What books do you remember helping you on your journey to get to this state?
Well, Man's Search for Meaning is no. Anyone who hasn't read Man's Search for, have you read that?
Have not yet, but
Oh
it's on
my
my
God.
agenda now.
So, do you know? Have you heard of that book?
I have heard of it, but I have not had the opportunity to read it yet.
So that's number one. I mean, Victor, I'm only laughing because, like, what else? He lost his entire family in the Holocaust, lost his entire life's work, everything, and then he found meaning from that. So that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate no excuses. My dad's diary is a close second to that, and I don't say that lightly.
Hmm.
I'll probably publish my dad's entire diary eventually, but there are excerpts from it in the Epic Life book. But Man's Search for Meaning, I just read The Escape Artist. Those were the first 2 Jewish people to escape from Auschwitz. That's an incredible book.
Hmm.
There's a book called Driven by Dr. Douglas Brackman. It's about how entrepreneur brains are just different than human brains. That's a really good one. But like business books, I don't really read those. Those are boring to me. I like thinking more of about what life is actually supposed to be, and then how business or entrepreneurship is molded into that.
Mhm.
Um, that's how I consume content.
So I mean, with that, right? I think that's another good segue to being that, like, you spent time with your dad, but you didn't have an opportunity to show your dad who you are today, right? But you're going to have that opportunity with your kids. Where do you see yourself 20 years from now?
No idea. I so I appreciate that question. It's a good one. As a journalist, you're not thinking about 20 years in future, you're thinking about 20 minutes. So, and I've been like that my whole life. I will say beyond that, I just turned 46 yesterday as we're doing this interview, and age goal is 123. That gets me to 2100, and then uh, really want to be at my grandchildren's weddings in a functional capacity. So our sons are 8 and 10. So want to be at grandchildren's weddings in a functional capacity. But 20 years from now, I don't, that would be like asking me to learn Mandarin in in 2 days. I can't, just my brain doesn't work like
Yeah.
that.
Well, I think it's funny because I mean, your other half, your alter superhero. I think if we had asked Sarah that question, she'd probably have a uniquely different answer.
100%. Not only would she have that answer, she would have it. So she's a lower quick start, higher follow through.
Hmm.
Which usually, again, people like us marry, not always, usually people like us marry lower quick start, higher follow. So she has her whole life plan. She can't wait to R word. I don't even say the RETIRE. I don't even say that word. She can't wait. She just turned 40. So she's got, good Lord, these calendar items, they're all over I mean, it's amazing. Thank God for that. But no, I don't. I know she wants like a house or nicer. We have a house. So we have a nice house. She wants a nicer house. And I don't know, stuff, fun stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I'm not, it's just totally, it's very collaborative. It's very collaborative.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would say relationships where you find the yin and the yang is when you find, like, to your point, the synergy, right? So,
100%.
uh, but let's just talk to your ideal avatar, right? I mean, they may be listening to this show, or somebody from this show may know that ideal person. What words of insight would you like to leave with them to help them on their journey?
That's a great question. So what has happened that I have seen time and time and time and time and time again, which is so interesting, is that during these interviews, most folks will have tuned out long ago.
Mm.
The ones that, and that's fine. The ones that are actually still listening, those are the true entrepreneurs. So the ones that made it to this point, that's the first, that's the first identification factor. Um, I'll give you this story. Um, my both of my sons are very good soccer players. The youngest one's really good. So I was at a practice for his travel soccer team, and one of his teammates was complaining about running or something. I'm like, stop complaining. You're fine. And I was telling him about how I started first company, uh, and how many people I reached out. I go, how many people do you think I reached out to find first 5 clients? Okay, so he's, I think at the time it was like 7. So he goes, 50? And I go, 5,000. I reached out to 5,000 people to find first 5 clients. And his mouth
Wow.
like looked like a cart. Well, right. That's what that, so that answer right there, most people can't do that. So that's, you're either someone that can do that, or you're like, oh my God, how did you do that? No, there's no, you had a stroke, single dad. Oh my God. No, you just, okay, figure it out. So, so you're either someone that can do that or you're not. That's it. That's what an entrepreneur really is.
So if this person is listening, how would you like them to get in contact with you? What,
Oh,
email, phone number, website?
another great question. The one part of my website that I actually do like, well, I like all of it, but the one part that's valuable, I think, from my perspective, there's a mindset scorecard. It's through the Strategic Coach platform. That's one of the 25K a year groups I'm in. I'm strongly, very confident saying that's one of the top, if not the top entrepreneurial groups in the world. Very thankful to be in that. But it takes 5 minutes, and it's at BrEpic LLC.com. And I found that, again, people qualify or disqualify themselves with their own mindset. It's very interesting to see that happen.
I would definitely say if you're listening to this, definitely take him up on that offer and at least take the 5 minutes. And to your point, the qualifying factor, if you're still listening, and you should still be listening because this has been a solid, great, impactful, detail-oriented episode,
Yeah.
take action on that. So this kind of goes into like some bonus questions. And this is like I always say, like my signature question. And for you, is kind of like I have a kind of three different options to kind of think what your answer is going to be, but I want you to kind of disclose that.
Okay.
If you could spend 24 hours with anyone, and that person could be someone that's dead or alive,
My dad. Yeah,
who would it be and why?
that's my dad. That's that's a simple answer.
I mean, obviously it will be your dad, but what would you like to talk about with him in those 24 hours?
I would like him to meet my children.
Mm.
I have no idea what I'd want to talk to him about. I'd rather just have him meet my children.
Hmm. I'm just like the seriousness of that statement. I want to listen to like really take like if you haven't, I want you to stop, rewind, listen to me ask that question again, and then play it back and look at his response. I mean, without blinking an eye before I even finished my sentence, he said his dad, but it's not necessarily for him. It's
No.
for the next generation. It kind of goes into like that legacy, giving his kids the opportunity to be superheroes from his superhero, which is
Well,
definitely
he is a superhero to them because I talk about him all the time. And then they've seen the diary and seen the photos.
mm,
And my oldest is named after him. His middle name is
wow.
Mike. I did. Thank you. Yeah, so that's no, I don't like it- people ask me all the time, like, how do you want to be remembered? I'm like, I just want to be known as a good dad. That's and a husband, but all this other stuff's fine. But without that, then it's pointless.
So that's a good point. So what would you signify as your greatest achievement to date?
Being a dad, I don't. That's not even. I don't. There's no. So I was talking to my 8-year-old about bending time. Bending. We were talking about IQ and bending time, but I'll talk about the bending time. So this is my 8-year-old. I'm paraphrasing his. This is what we talk about. We don't talk about schools. Well, we do, but mostly we talk about interesting things like bending time. But so he considers life one long great day. So yesterday's before you're born, tomorrow's after you die, and then so life is just one day. So there's no Sunday or Tuesday. It's one day. Like, okay. So he said to have a good life, there's two things to do. One is create more human life or more life, because fundamental reason for any living thing is to make more living things. Otherwise, there'd be nothing. There wouldn't be anything. And then two, he said, do what you like to do and what you're good at every day, and then just keep getting better at that. So that's the best. That's the best summarization of life that I've heard, and the most practical, and I think the wisest.
Mm.
And so, to me, again, life is about. That's the most important thing. Is I did the fundamental purpose for any living thing, and then I'm doing this best job I can
Mm.
doing it.
I think it's definitely interesting. I mean, it goes like to one of the quote that I've been saying for the past 10 years that like life is parallel to existence but perpendicular to time. And I mean that's exactly
Mm,
what your kid has identified, right? I mean, obviously, no matter what happens, life is going to continue forever, but you're going to hit these intersections on time, and these intersections on time becomes like those landmarks. To your point, your dad, yourself, your kids, you being at your kids' well, your grandkids' actual wedding. Like these are those crossroads in time that dignify who you're going to be and who you are.
that's great. Did you? Is that your quote? Is that your
Yeah,
quote?
yeah,
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 send that to me after this. That's tremendous. I
yeah.
love it.
Definitely appreciate it. So, I mean, going into close, I mean, I know you've done like hundreds of podcasts, and I like to give whoever I'm interviewing an opportunity to become the host of my show. So the show is yours. Do you have any questions that you would like to ask me?
Well, the one was, have you taken Colby? How old is your teenager now?
17.
You might want a teenage, or you might want a Colby. This isn't a question, but oh,
Mm.
actually, I'll make it a question because you said it. Have you Colby'd your 17-year-old?
Nope, but like to your point about the thing that you talked about earlier, when your kids are at the school and you're seeing the crazy kids, and it's like, okay, well, they're going to be entrepreneurs. I could definitely see that. So understanding his score would definitely help me to point him in the right direction.
Easily. Like if he wants to be outside all the time, or like I don't know, like or build stuff, he's a high implementer. Implementer and Colby's using your hands, and then How long have you been married?
Going on 5 years.
And did you marry a stabilizing human?
Yes, I would definitely say that. I mean, she is the polar opposite of myself, and
Okay.
so
What does
she's
she do
my
for a
example.
living, or what is she educated in?
She is a treasurer slash accountant by trade.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. That's that's what I so she's probably an 8822. I would Colby her also. And um what do we have 5 minutes here? Okay, so so I'm gonna try and ask it's like a human. Are her friends also stabilizing human, or are they visionaries like us?
Hmm. That is a distinct question. I mean, I have to kind of recap her friends.
Think about that one. Think about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Usually, like, I love my wife more than anyone on the
Mhm.
planet, even more than my own children. And I like her friends, but all of my wife's friends are stabilizing humans, and so I will do my best to be a human during those conversations, but it is not easy. So
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about that when you're
I can answer that. I mean, to answer, I think my wife, she's definitely attracted to entrepreneurs because she's a stabilizer. But I
ah
think some of her friends, they're stabilizers that want to be entrepreneurs, if that makes sense.
not gonna hit. Good luck with that. Good luck. Stabilizers that want to be entrepreneurs. That will be, when that happens is if they're married to a very high level entrepreneur who will
Push.
start it for them or help them bankroll it. So what has happened with that is my wife would never be an entrepreneur. That's great, but she takes more chances in life than she would have before.
Mm,
So so
mm.
that I've seen that happen. But no, like a stabilizer who wants to be an entrepreneur without being really directly next to an entrepreneur, that's going to be very difficult.
Hmm, hmm. Well, I think today's episode was not only profound, but I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate what you brought to the table. I love this style of conversation because I mean, to my point of view, we could talk like this for another 2, 3 hours without a
This is
problem.
my whole life. So all I do is have conversations like this, whether they're recorded or not. That's my whole point.
Mm.
Like and then some people like to be on be your PR partners, and then people like you just introduce me to other people like you. That's my whole point. You just summed it up with one great statement there.
Great, great. Well, I definitely appreciate you being today. I mean, I guess we're closing out right at 1 hour, right on cue, right on time.
Did it.
Great, great. Any last statements for the listener?
Oh, just have an epic life. Yeah.
Yeah. I would just definitely say go ahead and get that tattoo. I mean, at this point in time, I mean, it's branded on you, man. So do it.
Talk to my wife about that one. If I do, I'm coming back on the show.
Yeah.
Actually, do it in real time. Get a tattoo. Oh man, that's hilarious.
Cool. S.A. Grant, over and out.